6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Sounditavam. The first meeting of the 4-member committee appointed to solve the teachers' principal salary anomalies will be held today. Sri Lanka breaks record for the highest number of daily corona deaths for the third consecutive day, reporting more than 100 cases daily. The charges of PCR and antigen tests regulated. The ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka expressed his gratitude for the solidarity shown by Sri Lanka by participating in the Olympic Games. The central bank introduces a hotline for public inquiries on financial matters. In world news, scientists say methane gas could seal our fate on climate change. And in sports, Chelsea wins Super Cup on penalties. The first meeting of a 4-member committee appointed to solve the teachers' principal salary anomalies will be held today. A member of this committee, Minister Mahinda Amaravira, accepted the fact that there is a salary anomaly existing in the present salary structure of the teachers. The minister expressed confidence that the problem will be solved amicably without harming the other government servants' salary scales. The Director General of Health Services has confirmed another 124 coronavirus-related deaths for August 10th, pushing the country's official death toll due to the virus pandemic to 5,464. This is reportedly the highest daily count of COVID-19 deaths recorded in the country, while this also marks the third consecutive day that the daily count of COVID-19 deaths has exceeded 100. Of the COVID-19 deaths confirmed, 75 are males and 49 are females, while one of the victims is below the age of 30. 28 are between the ages of 30 to 59, while the remaining 95 are aged 60 and above. The Ministry of Health reported that 2,890 persons have tested positive for the coronavirus yesterday. This brings the total number of confirmed cases of the coronavirus in the country thus far 341,982. The total number of patients who have recovered from the COVID-19 virus in Sri Lanka surpassed the 300,000 mark on Wednesday. Health Ministry statistics have showed. Total recoveries have risen to 300,406 after another 2,244 patients were discharged from hospitals within the past 24 hours. Over 36,000 infected patients are currently being treated for the virus. The Minister of Health, Pavitra Vanyarachi, has stated that the Ministry of Health will take steps to regulate the fees charged for PCR and antigen tests performed by private sector hospitals to identify those infected with the COVID-19 due to the spread of the coronavirus epidemic. The Minister yesterday stated that steps will be taken to issue the relevant Gazette notification to regulate the prices of the tests today. The maximum price that the private sector can charge for a PCR test is 6,500 rupees, and the maximum price for an antigen test is 2,000 rupees. Accordingly, the Ministry of Consumer Affairs will publish it in a Gazette today. A meeting between the New Zealand High Commissioner Michael Edward Appleton and Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne took place yesterday at the Ministry of Defence. They discussed issues of bilateral importance. The High Commissioner has commended the contribution of the security forces to control the COVID pandemic. The Financial Consumer Relations Department, established under the provisions of Section 33 of the Monetary Law Act No. 58 of 1949, as amended, continues to serve as a single point of contact to handle complaints against financial service providers regulated by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. The FCRD introduced a complaint submission form for financial consumers who wish to submit a complaint against a FSP regulated by the CBSL. This will streamline the complaint handling process in an efficient manner, and financial consumers and customers are encouraged to submit a clear and concise complaint with accurate information using the complaint submission form. The soft copy of the complaint submission form is available for downloading on the CBSL website. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Get a personal loan for your marriage, education or housing within 24 hours with People's Bank Digital Banking.
The procession carrying the crystal gem and pinnacle of Sandahirusaya is scheduled to leave the Kalaniya Rajamaha Viharaya this morning to the Gampaha Sama Viharaya. The procession reached the Kalaniya Rajamaha Viharaya from the Koratota Rajamaha Viharaya last afternoon. The government says the issuance of revenue licenses for vehicles registered in the Western Province has been suspended until the 31st of August, considering the prevailing coronavirus situation in the country. Issuing a statement, the Government Information Department said, until the 30th of September, fines will be imposed on owners of vehicles with expired revenue licenses. However, the public can apply for revenue licenses by visiting the www.motortraffic.wp.gov.lk webpage. That concludes local news.
Get a personal loan for your marriage, education or housing within 24 hours with People's Bank Digital Banking. People's Bank Digital Banking, your ultimate convenience.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka, Akira Sugiyama, called on Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and expressed his gratitude for the solidarity shown by Sri Lanka in participating in this year's Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan, the Foreign Ministry said. Minister Gunawardena conveyed that the government of Sri Lanka and its people are grateful to the government of Japan and its people for donating 1.45 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccines at the request made by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to the Prime Minister of Japan. The Japanese ambassador stated that the government of Japan is very pleased with the prompt action taken by the government of Sri Lanka to make the vaccines donated to Sri Lanka available to the public at the earliest. Since the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries falls in April next year, both sides discussed at length on the possibility of holding a joint commemoration ceremony on the occasion, and that came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the process of handling complaints regarding financial service providers has been streamlined. The hotline number 1935 has been introduced by the Central Bank for relevant inquiries in all three languages. The Department of Financial Customer Relations of the Central Bank has introduced a special form to submit complaints about financial service providers and came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to a bulletin of world news, making headlines, Taliban back brutal rule in Afghanistan as they strike for power. Polish Parliament passes controversial media bill. And scientists say methane gas could seal our fate on climate change. In less than a week, the Taliban has overrun 1/4 of Afghanistan's provincial capitals in a huge swath of territory across the north of the country. The security situation is unravelling faster than almost anyone expected, with the possible exception of the Taliban themselves. 9 provincial capitals have now fallen to the insurgent group, in several cases with minimal resistance from the Afghan security forces. The Taliban now control territory they were unable to subdue when they were in power between 1996 and 2001. Meanwhile, Kabul could be isolated by the Taliban in the next 30 to 60 days, increasing the potential that the Afghan capital could fall under the control of the militant group, according to a senior administration official familiar with one US intelligence assessment. Another assessment put the potential collapse within 90 days, according to another US official. Officials warn that there are multiple assessments with differing timelines. Poland's parliament has passed a new media bill that opponents say is an attempt to silence a TV channel critical of the government. The government says the law is needed to stop hostile foreign powers taking control of its broadcasters. But critics say it is an attempt to push US company Discovery to sell the country's biggest TV network, TVN. The law threatens to sour relations with the US, a key ally, and deepen EU concern over media freedom in Poland. Thousands of demonstrators took to the streets across Poland on Tuesday to express their anger at the proposals. Slashing carbon dioxide emissions is critical to ending the climate crisis. But for the first time, the UN Climate Change Report emphasized the need to control a more insidious culprit, methane, an invisible odorless gas with more than 80 times more warming power in the near term than carbon dioxide. According to the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the concentration of methane in the atmosphere is higher now than any time in at least 800,000 years. With Earth rapidly approaching the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold above pre-industrial levels, scientists say methane emissions need to be reduced fast. Charles Cowan, a lead author of the IPCC report, said this is due to methane's incredible warming power. Back to the headlines of the world news. Taliban back brutal rule in Afghanistan as they strike for power. Polish parliament passes controversial media bill. And scientists say methane gas could seal our fate on climate change. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melva RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melva RB500, number one in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
Win lakhs and lakhs with CIB Janajaya. 40% discount for your bills till 15th of August. 6 hand tractors at the Grand Row. CIB Janajaya.
The COP26 regional ambassador for the Asia Pacific and South Asia, Ken O'Flaherty, congratulated Sri Lanka for timely submission of its updated, nationally determined contributions with ambitious commitments on renewable energy and net zero carbon, as well as a pledge for no more coal. He reiterated that the commitment at the highest level of policy making is the strength behind such ambitious commitments, and it would no doubt bring wide accolades to Sri Lanka. Ambassador O'Flaherty also stated that there are a wide range of opportunities for countries when they submit NDCs with clear ambitious targets, not only for climate financing grants, but also for attracting foreign investors who are increasingly focusing on countries with clear decarbonizing mechanisms in their policies. He reiterated that overall net zero carbon by 2050 is an important target accepted by an increasing number of countries. That came to you in Development News.
Development News was brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melva RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melva RB500, number one in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
Win lakhs and lakhs with CIB Janajaya. 40% discount for your bills till 15th of August. 6 hand tractors at the Grand Row. CIB Janajaya.
On to sports news, Chelsea beat Villarreal 6-5 in a penalty shootout to lift the UEFA Super Cup for a second time after a draining 120 minutes in Belfast. Substitute goalkeeper Kepa Arrizabalaga saved captain Rahul Albiol's spot kick at Windsor Park on a night that began superbly for the Blues with an excellent first-half performance before the Spaniards stormed back into the contest after the break. Hakim Ziyech opened the scoring midway through the opening 45 minutes, but was then forced off with what looked like a worrying shoulder injury before half-time. The Spaniards hit the woodwork either side of the break before Gerard Moreno equalised in the 73rd minute to force extra time. That's sports news. Business news up next.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Jet Holdings Limited, Sri Lanka's trusted industry leader in finishing and furnishing, witnesses immense organisational progress fuelled by the firm's intention to begin its manufacturing operations in Bangladesh, further boosting its already established presence in the country. Following the recent initial public offering, Jet Holdings is ahead of schedule to fulfill its near-term objectives, having already secured the required premises and factory for manufacturing. That's business news, economic news to follow.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news. Courtesy of
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
Seahorse Yachts Private Limited recently entered into an agreement with the Hambantota International Port Group to set up a state-of-the-art yacht building facility at the port. The agreement was signed by the CEO of Hambantota International Port Group and the president of Seahorse Yachts Private Limited. The initial investment for the facility, which will be located within the Hamamatata International Port, is set at approximately $58 million, and production is set to commence by early 2022. The project is expected to generate over 200 direct employment opportunities and an additional 300 indirect employment opportunities. That's economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Several spells of showers occur in the western, Sabragamo, central and northwestern provinces and in the Gaul and Matara districts. Showers or thundershowers occur at several places elsewhere after 2 p.m. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places in these areas. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The first meeting of the 4-member committee appointed to solve the teachers' principal salary anomalies will be held today. Sri Lanka breaks record for the highest number of daily coronavirus deaths for the third consecutive day, reporting more than 100 cases daily. The charges of PCR and antigen tests regulated. The ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka expressed his gratitude for the solidarity shown by Sri Lanka by participating in the Olympic Games. The central bank introduces a hotline for public inquiries on financial matters. Scientists say methane gas could seal our fate on climate change. And Chelsea wins Super Cup on penalties. That concludes this morning's news broadcast.